Welcome to the show. This fine Thursday, May 9th. How's everybody doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing well.
What's going on with you, Brian? You doing good?
I can't complain. Everything's good.
You got your Tool shirt on?
Pretty cool shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Seeing us on in New Jersey. They were quite fantastic.
Yeah, buddy.
Man.
Yeah.
I know my brother-in-law Mark is super jealous right now.
Didn't he just see Tool? Weren't they at Red Rocks or something recently? Or am I crazy? I thought Tool was at Red
I
Rocks.
don't think you're crazy.
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if they were
Something.
at-
Mark went to something last Thursday. I thought. I can't remember. We'll find out. To be determined. More
Mark,
to
let
come.
us know. Yeah,
more
let us know.
more to come.
Where did you go,
Yeah.
Mark? We know you're not jealous of Brian going to Tool.
Hey, it's all good.
Exactly.
It's always good to check out a band. So
Hell yeah.
yeah.
Speaking
So-
of,
Yeah. What's that?
Maynard's still doing it, man. He's legit.
did you get a $25 ticket on Axis yesterday with their sale or the Live Nation? Did you look?
No. I looked, but we're seeing some of the bands that were on there that are coming to Colorado, so we're seeing them in other places, and I'm just like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
The ones I was looking at, they were already gone by the time I got
Yeah.
into the portal. I was like, this is baloney.
Yeah, they're like, I think it's a great opportunity. I mean, there are tons of bands. Like, you can go see shows every single night in all these little venues for, $15, $25, $30. And if you want to go see shows, they're absolutely there to see, and there's some amazing artists. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars. Some of the, like, I know, Billy Joel tickets were like outlandish. I know, but those are once in a lifetime concerts. If you've never seen Billy Joel in concert, it's an experience.
I just happened to be going in July. That's
can't wait.
that's
That's gonna be
hilarious.
killer.
Yeah.
But that's like Adele. It's like anybody else, right? Like, these are people that you may not see touring again, and that's why. But if you can see some of these bands that are coming up, there's some.
I messed
amazing
up with
talent out
Adele.
there.
I need to go.
Yeah. Don't threaten me with a
Yeah.
good time.
Yeah.
I made a mistake on that one.
I'm all in on,
Yeah.
on going
Yeah.
back to Vegas to see Adele. I even got an
Yeah.
email on
I was wrong.
Tuesday or Wednesday where they were releasing more tickets to the Munich shows in August, and I was like, stay
Okay,
out of the queue.
now, hold
Stay
on.
out of the queue.
I didn't say that I'm gonna leave the country to see her.
We have
Yeah.
passports.
I
Yeah,
hear,
you do
I
have
hear you
passports,
on
like,
that.
that's- Yeah. And
But-
Germany's pretty. Like, I mean, go there, enjoy.
And they
have
have
a good time.
really cool
Why would
beer
I want to leave
signs
the greatest country on earth?
to go see Adele.
Go see Adele.
I
know.
mean, there's
what time
there-
of year is that? Like, is there skiing going on during that time?
it's in August, and I'm sure my
Oh.
children will start school
Oh,
right at that time. So
even better. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
Oktoberfest is coming up. They're getting all riled up for that.
I
I do like beer. I do like beer.
There you go. See,
Yeah.
I stayed out of the queue.
Yeah,
Hey.
beer and brats.
Yeah.
Speaking my language, actually, a
that's like
friend
a-
recommended a new barbecue joint that we're gonna have to try.
What
so
is it?
Brian, are you down for some Q? Are you in the queue for some Q?
Is this rhetorical?
Yeah.
we
What place are you talking
It's called
about?
Mission Barbecue. I know nothing about it except for, well, what my friend Sean told me about it was that, you know how everybody's got a style, right? Like, there's Kansas City, North Carolina, like St. Louis, like all kinds of different style of barbecue.
Yeah.
And they tried to take a piece of, or pieces from, their homage to their favorite, or, to all different types of barbecue and blend
Okay.
it. So I'm excited. I'm down to get,
Love it.
I'm down to get me a
Where's this place
two-meat
at?
plate.
Is it in Pueblo or what? Where are
It's
we
not in
headed?
Pueblo. No, actually, it's pretty far north of Pueblo, actually.
In Denver?
I will be.
No, not that far.
I will.
north.
I'll be there in next week just because there's barbecue.
Oh my
it's,
gosh.
it's up by the
What
Great
time?
Wolf Lodge. And
Oh, and
In-N-Out,
Interquest.
all
Okay,
that.
cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
Interquest.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm down with that. Yeah, that's
So
good.
that's where it's
even
at.
Easier.
Interesting.
I would like to
So
try it.
So we were talking before the show, and we're talking about social media. We're talking about all the
Mm.
stuff, the fun stuff from social media, and how it impacts everyone's lives and their perceptions of everyone's lives. And Shannon kind of touched on it earlier in the week with one of her reels, and if you didn't catch it, you can definitely see it. But everyone has this perception that everyone's moving into these homes that are like $1 million homes. Like my first house has to be 700,000 plus, it has to have 10 bedrooms, 12 baths. And we were talking about this as is what's the reality. So what is the reality? What's the reality of what people like for the most part? What is a first time home buyer looking at?
They're looking at something that first fits their budget, so that's the most important thing is making sure that is in line with where they're at financially. It is a very emotional process from beginning to end for any client, much less a first time home buyer.
Residential real
They
estate
are
is
they
emotional.
are we in that respect, we are wearing a lot of hats where they're up in the tree climbing around and hanging from branches literally, and we get to go, okay, Mr. and Mrs. buyer, let's come down from the tree, let's get down from the tree, let's talk about this, that's functionally like problem solve this particular situation, because it gets really wild out there. And it's not a comparison between you and your friend that has bought 3 houses, and maybe they're in a different price point than you. Our first house, for instance, it was a little 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It needed updates. We had to put a lot of work into it.
Carpet.
It had blue carpet. Yeah, we it had what kind of laminate countertops, old appliances. I mean, it was
You name it.
Yeah, you name it. It had it. Tile floor, linoleum. Didn't have
Federal
cool.
Pacific panel.
It did.
All of it.
It didn't have any cool wallpaper, which I would be really excited about now if it did.
Hey, you know what though? Okay, so that is true. Like everybody across the board is different, and you're right. You can't compare.
You can't
because
compare.
that house. Okay, regardless of whatever, we have love for that house, and I know that everyone shares that. Like it doesn't matter whatever your situation is owning that first house and the just the sheer love you have for that accomplishment, and then in addition, you're actually getting dividends. It actually made us hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah. I mean, it is incredible what it can do for you. Like it. It's just incredible, and you can't really compare everyone's situation.
Well, we live in a comparison based environment right now with social media.
You're
so
right.
With me growing up in the 90s, being I'm thinking of like my formative years, magazines were a thing. That's where I got my like comparison. It was like the Cosmo magazine or whatever. You looked at magazines and that was it. You let it go. You go to school, you do your thing. Your friends are wearing Doc Martens, whatever it was. Now these people that are online and on social media scrolling, they're constantly being bombarded with all of this glamour and I just bought a car and I did a thing and I did this and my parents and my children and everything's perfect all of the time. And it's not like that. We are all melting down on a daily basis or in our own way. In certain situations, we just make it look easier than others, and you don't see the behind the scenes action on all of it.
The difference between what you said about when you grew up and you went to school and Doc Martens were a thing. Okay. You were comparing actual life, actual human interaction.
Absolutely.
You were comparing, like, that was the difference there. Like, regardless of how you got your information, it was actual. You were like, okay, the kids are physically wearing these shoes. I'm going to wear these shoes or whatever. Whereas today, you're not comparing your life, or you're not comparing your decisions on real life. You're comparing it on somebody's highlight reel.
100%.
Somebody tells you. And that is the the conundrum with social media. That is where it's disconnected. It's not the same as when we grew up. You're only comparing, like, the problem is, and as a human being, you naturally want to do that. You're comparing what's going on with you as a whole compared to a tiny window of somebody's highlight reel of the great things that are going on in their life. Yeah. And it's just not a fair comparison.
And to piggyback that, it's also, some of these people are paid influencers, right? So
for
they're getting paid to wear this or to go here or to do whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you're trying to compare your life. They're being handed that as an influencer, right?
Right.
And again, just throwing this out, Diet Mountain Dew, at any point you could, make me a paid influencer. I'm just throwing it out, like spitballing some ideas.
For sure.
But that's the part where you're trying to compare that to something that is absolutely not an apples to apples comparison.
Yeah.
And I think we see it too in real estate where we're talking like the Sports Center highlight reel. You don't see the majority of our homes that are sold are in that first time home buyer or in that first or secondary home buyer market. You see the highlight reel sometimes of where the lion's share of what you see on social media is like, oh, this $1 million house, oh, this $2 million property, this estate that has 100 acres, whatever it is. But the reality of that is the bread and butter of most real estate that changes hands is in that $400,000 to $600,000, $400,000 to $700,000 price
Yeah, you
point.
bet.
And that's not just in one city in one state. That's across the board. You're seeing those price points, and so you see all these luxury homes, you see all that other stuff, but that's not reality. Like that's just not. There's a lot of shows on it, reality TV shows. There's a bunch of other stuff that's about it, but that's just
100%. That
not,
that market has really ruined people as well with the expectation of, and the funniest thing I think I've seen about that is the HGTV, where the buyers are they're in the $2 million range. He sells cat food, and she
she's a gopher herder,
weaves baskets on the beach, and they're shopping in wherever in Vermont. And it's not that easy. People work really, really hard to accomplish that milestone, and it is something to be proud of. So don't get me wrong. I want people to be able to share their accomplishments and what have you. I'm trying to say, give yourself a little bit of grace and freedom, and to know that you're human. And if you're not there yet, it's okay. There's a lot of people that are in that same boat as you. And instead of going, man, I'm not doing this, I'm not, crushing the mom game like that person, and I haven't got the fancy car, and I don't have the house, and I don't have a 3-car garage, or whatever it is, you're in your own space creating your personal vision. And don't forget your why, whatever that is, and focus on that and build it up from there.
I love it.
We don't do enough of that in the world. I mean, you can read any particular feed that has a lot of comments on it on Facebook, and people are not very kind. We don't lift people up. We're very
the other day I was driving, and there was literally, I was in the car a lot that day, but there was 3 getting out of the car violent exchanges with people.
The angst
like
in the car is bad.
3 different times that happened to me in one day. And it didn't happen to me. It wasn't like I was,
they didn't come at you.
We're chasing you.
No, it was like in front of me, or like just, I mean, you're right. The world we live in, it's crazy.
Well, we're in our uncharted water too, being parents. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, how we are literally parenting in a time where nobody has parented before. So with the access to the internet, with 12-year-olds having phones, with kids being bullied younger and younger, and how to navigate that process. There's not a book written for us to follow and know the rules of the game. We're shooting from the hip 100% of the time. And then on top of that, running a business, trying to manage our household or marriage, all of these things that we're trying to do on a day-to-day basis. And then you get online and you scroll and you're like, man, Jimmy John just bought a $800,000 house. I have this little 3-bedroom, 2-bath that I live on, I live on the east side, and I'm just not there yet. And I've been here for 5 years. It's not good for your soul.
That house, regardless of the blue carpet and all those horrible things that we talked about, owning and purchasing that house at that time was probably the best decision we had made in 20 years.
Sure, 100%.
Seriously, in a whole couple of decades, that was the best decision financially that we made, and that there's a lot to be said about that.
Well, if you put yourself, I always try to put myself in my client's shoes when we're in a transaction, whether or not it's land, it's a commercial lease, it's whatever it is. How it is they're feeling is really, really important to me. I try to understand the stress that they're coming from. Why are they hanging from the tree like a monkey? Come back down. Let's talk through this, because it is so. There's so many things that can happen, and the twists and turn, and inspection came, and we don't have the reports back. What do we do? There's so much going on all of the time, and it's one of our jobs. along the way to help them like navigate that side of it. And if we weren't in a space to be able to like do that, at 20 years old, whenever we bought our house, I don't know where we would be today, because it was literally a vehicle to get to where I am now. And it just continues to grow, and people don't necessarily understand that. I think sometimes they do. They just want to maybe be like Jimmy John and buy the house because they just bought it, instead of really understanding what kind of vehicle it is for their family and for the growth and all of that.
Well, I think you also see people that on social media, you don't necessarily realize they may have kept their first house and kept it as a rental. You don't know that they don't have multiple rentals. I mean, I have a group of friends that I know because I've helped a bunch of them with it, but they do trips, they go do fun stuff, they have lots of toys, they play around and they have a good time, but no one saw the fact that they spent weeks updating and having to fix, like from like when a tenant moved out and destroyed their house, or that they scrunched together so much money by not doing anything outside for 2 years so they could buy that first house. And you don't those are the things that people don't see on social media. That's the part that gets left out, and I think that's the part that is the most damaging, because people just think, oh, everyone has this stuff raining on them, and why can't I catch a break? And
It's
that's
got to
just
really do a
that's not
lot for
reality.
people's mental health that aren't strong enough to see that.
Yeah,
It's that if you can't look beyond it, and you're constantly being bombarded with that, and this state of mind of like everyone is doing so much better than me, the cliche of God doesn't put anything more on you than you can handle. People get that in their head, and they're like, well, what did I do wrong for God to
yeah,
be giving me all of this and him all of that? Like, and you're not seeing the work behind it. You're not seeing the failure. You're not seeing them down
yeah.
on their knees praying, going, oh my God, get me out of this hole, or whatever it is. They don't post all of that. So I
Yeah.
think we need to be better as humans and individuals to be willing to share that side of it. I don't mean like go online and be like, man, this is me digging in the garden and I freaking cut my finger off, or whatever the scenario is. You have to be able to have open conversations with your biggest cheerleaders, your people, and be like, how do I get past this? How do I get here? What do I got to do? Like we have to be better about that instead of this constant show off. That's really what I feel like it kind of boils down to. And I think we're all guilty of it in some way.
I think
But
I think with that too is that circle of friends that you have. I mean, I have a very close knit circle of friends. People know that I'm very loyal to my friends, and I love my friends, and I talk to them about everything. Only my friends know, like, one of my best, or some of my best years in business were some of my worst years in my personal life.
right.
And that's the part that you look at that, and people didn't see that stuff, and I didn't share it, obviously, and I wasn't really sharing anything at the time. But that's not, you know it's hard for people to share that. But with my friends all knew what was going on. They knew what was going on in my life. They knew what was going on with my kids, and that was more important to me, and that's what kept me sane, and I think kept my family sane during those times, was the close knit group of people that were always around us and cheering us on. And all the
100%.
other stuff was just noise. And so, if I had any advice for people, get rid of the noise.
Yep, and
Mm.
that's the hardest part of that. So if we could talk about some things that maybe we do as individuals or seen as tips and tricks in other people's lives to get rid of the noise, because I've been working really hard on that in the last couple of years in general. I wish I would have known 20 years ago to filter that down and be able to turn it off, or like turn the radio. What
All
are
of
some
us.
what
Yep.
are some things that you would say, like if you've got a lot of noise going on around you, how can you filter that out and turn it down, turn it off?
Yeah. Share that, please.
Well, for me right now, a lot of it is making sure that I'm reading, and I'm doing a lot of self discovery and personal development on that. Being able to go to yoga for me has been like an eye opening experience, where it's just me and my mat and breathing for 75 minutes, and that's all I have to do. And I just have to focus on that and figure out how I'm going to get from one position to the next with my body as the crazy teacher is like kicking my ass 3 ways sideways, and I have no idea what's going on. And I'm working really hard on that. So those are my things that that I do.
Yeah, I mean, I read a ton. Like I was tired of like looking at the news and reading all the BS on the news, and so I decided to learn Spanish. One of my buddies, Rob, was doing Spanish on Duolingo, and I'm like, dude, I want to totally do that. And then I got Haley doing it. I got Carrie doing it. I mean, so like we're all practicing off of each other, and everyone knows like outdoor stuff. Like that's my thing. Like just get me to work out. Go get me on a mountain. Go get me fishing something, and that's how I just keep my sanity. I think in my worst times, like just leave me alone. I want to go. I need to go play and go enjoy Mother Nature for a while.
Love it. What about you, Chris?
I definitely have my projects. My truck is, as much as I have busted knuckles and a big old gash on my head and a lot of hurt feelings, I'm still very motivated to do that. So I think that in some ways having, the trials, and a lot like life, it's like a life lesson, like a lot of the experiences that weren't so great eventually made the experience when better in the end. Mm-hmm. But I had been focused pretty hard on that, like for the last as many days as I can remember, and not having a whole lot of wins. And then today I was down here and I was straightening up for the show, and I grabbed this thing and I was like, can I still do it? Do I still have it? And I really doubted that I did, but I sat here probably for like an hour and just played my guitar.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, need a break.
Yep. So find your noise decreaser.
Yeah.
Turn the radio down and the music up a little bit.
Have some real human interaction.
Find your why.
Go have some experiences. Like be with your friends. Lean on your friends when you need.
Yep.
When stuff is hard, you need to lean on your friends. Talk to people. That's the problem. We just like, oh well, that person's too busy, or he's got this going on, so no, just do it.
You're making assumptions with that.
Right.
That's something that I'm really I'm working on that. That's something I have to like repeat as a mantra every single day is don't make assumptions, because as soon as I do that, I'm putting other people or the scenario or the situation in a whole little rabbit hole of things that I can make up in my mind of this, that, and the other, and it does you no good. Like if you soon as you assume that you know what the other person is thinking or what their motivation is behind something, you've lost, because it has nothing to do with you anymore. You're just making up more noise. So I don't know. There's lots.
Well, and I think check on your people. I mean, I think that's important.
It is.
The people that you haven't talked to, the people that, have just been kind of laying low, doing their own thing. Check.
I had a visit from an old friend last week, so that was pretty special. And actually it was all sparked by the post I put about my truck. So in some weird way, this was a good thing that happened from social media. It put, two friends together who hadn't seen each other in
100%.
Well,
long time.
that is.
But you didn't interact. You didn't interact
no,
online.
Our interaction was great here. We did not interact online other than setting it up. And he came over here. He checked out my project. It was great to sit and have a cup of coffee with him, and it was just awesome.
Yeah.
So
That's
do that. Go do that.
Yeah.
Go talk to people.
Dig a little deeper in the well.
Oh, I like that. That's a good way to end it.
It is.
Yeah, good job. Yeah. Well, have a great day, everybody. All right. We're always here if you need us. And,
thanks for listening.
We don't just talk about real estate. We talk real talk.
Real talk.
All the time. Take good care.
Right. Bye, guys.